Good morning, my name is Keith Kondrich and I'm the Executive Director for the Society of St. Vincent de Paul here in the Diocese of Pittsburgh. And for today's Monday meditation, I want to reflect a little bit on the story of the centurion who comes to Jesus asking him to heal his servant. And we read about that in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 8. When Jesus entered Capernaum, a centurion approached him and appealed to him saying, "Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed, suffering dreadfully." Jesus said to him, "I will come and cure him." The centurion said in reply, "Lord, I am not worthy to have you enter under my roof. Only say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I too am a person subject to authority, with soldiers subject to me, and I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come here,' and he comes, and to my slave, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed and said to those following, "Amen, I say to you, in no one in Israel have I found such faith." I always love this story because it really shows the power of Jesus, and that the power of Jesus is really not in worldly power. The centurion comes to Jesus. This is a man of authority. This is a soldier. This is a man who wields great earthly power. And Jesus is an itinerant preacher. He's kind of an outcast. He travels in very different circles than the centurion might. In many ways, they might even see themselves as enemies, right? The centurion is part of an occupying force. And yet the centurion has heard about Jesus. And he comes to Jesus. And he asks him to help. He asks for his help. And I think there's a wonderful lesson here for all of us in terms of how we prepare our hearts. How we prepare our hearts to be one with Jesus Christ. And so there's three lessons that I'd like to explore just briefly that the centurion brings to the table for us today. First and foremost, if we want to welcome Jesus into our hearts, if we want to welcome Jesus into our lives, we have to be kind. Kindness, right? The centurion, as I said, is a man of power. He's a busy guy. He's got a lot of responsibilities. And yet, out of kindness, he himself goes and approaches Jesus to ask him to help heal his servant. He doesn't send somebody else. He doesn't say, "You know what, I'm too busy, I'm too important." He doesn't let the person suffer and die. He takes it upon himself. He acts out of kindness towards his servant. So the first thing we need to do to welcome Jesus into our hearts is to be kind to one another in all the ways that we deal with each other on a day-to-day basis. The second lesson that we learn from the centurion is humility. We need to be humble. Again, the centurion is a man of great power. He wields great authority. Jesus is so far below him in terms of social status, and yet the centurion humbles himself. He comes to Jesus. He doesn't put on airs. He doesn't throw around his authority. He humbles himself before someone who, for all intents and purposes, is so far below him. He humbles himself. He says, "Lord, I am not worthy. I am not worthy that you should enter my home." Wow. Can you imagine that? He humbles himself before the Lord. And so the second lesson that we learn to prepare for the Lord, to welcome the Lord into our hearts, to be active Christians, is the lesson of humility. And that's what the centurion teaches us. The third thing that we need to do, that we learn from the centurion in order to welcome Jesus into our hearts, is to have faith. We need to trust in the Lord, right? The centurion says, "Only say the word, and my servant will be healed." He has faith. He believes that Jesus has the power, that Jesus has the love, that Jesus has the compassion to heal his servant just by his word. He doesn't even need to be there. He can do it from afar. That's the kind of faith that the centurion has in Jesus Christ. He doesn't put his faith in worldly things. He doesn't put his faith in his power as a centurion. He doesn't put his faith in other physicians. He puts his faith in Jesus Christ. And through that faith, through that humility, and through that kindness, his servant is healed. And Jesus goes on to compliment this centurion. Again, a pagan, not even part of the family of Israel. A pagan that Jesus says, I have never seen so much faith. Wow, incredible. But those are the three lessons that we learned from the centurion today. We need to practice kindness, we need to practice humility, and we need to practice faith. So this coming week, my friends, I want you to welcome Jesus into your hearts. Welcome him in a way that you haven't done in the past. Welcome him through acts of kindness. Welcome him through acts of humility. Welcome him through your act of faith. Kindness, humility, and faith. And if you practice all three of those virtues this week, I think you'll be amazed at how the Lord touches and heals your life in ways that you can't even begin to imagine. God bless you and have a great week.